Poetry scares me. And it's not that, oh, it's a little bit intimidating, but I'll be fine. It's a genuine, slightly uncomfortable, sit with it kind of fear. Which is interesting because I'm an actor. I work with text for a living. I've spent years pulling apart scripts, analysing language, standing on stages saying other people's words, and yet poetry still makes me hesitate. So today, I want to talk with you about why poetry scares me and why, despite that, I'm choosing to lean into it anyway. If you're new here, hi, my name is Benjamin Webb. I'm an actor, writer, director, and a theatre reviewer for The Scoop Australia. I spend a lot of time thinking about performance, storytelling, and language in action. And this year, 2026, I'm joining the touring troupe Poetry in Action, which means poetry is no longer something I can politely admire from a distance. It's something I have to embody, day after day, in front of young audiences across the country. Which brings me back to the fear. The first reason that poetry scares me is because it feels incredibly exposed. In a play, you have a character, a situation, a narrative arc. Even in Shakespeare, where the language is heightened, you can still hide inside the circumstances of the scene. Poetry doesn't give you that luxury. Often it's just a voice, a thought, a feeling. No fourth wall, no costume to hide behind, no clear "this isn't me" safety net. Poetry asks you to stand there and say, "this matters," and then it dares the audience to decide whether they agree. That's kind of terrifying. The second reason is precision. In theatre, especially naturalistic theatre, you can sometimes get taken away with the momentum. You ride the intention, energy, relationship. Poetry doesn't let you bluff. Every word is doing work. Every pause matters. Every breath changes meaning. You can't rush it. You can't skim it. You can't generalize your way through it. That level of exactness is confronting because it shows you very quickly how much you don't know or don't understand yet. And I think part of the fear also comes from how I was exposed to it. For a lot of people, myself included, poetry first appears in classrooms as something to decode, not feel, something to analyze before you really are allowed to enjoy it. What does the poet mean? What technique is this?
What technique is this?
What do you want? And somewhere along the way, poetry can start to feel like a test instead of an invitation. And unlearning that is really hard. So, why am I doing it anyway? Well, because of everything I just described. That's why I should. Every time I look back on my career so far, the moments that have mattered the most are the ones that scared me a little. The shows that asked more of me. The roles that exposed gaps in my skill set. The projects where I wasn't entirely sure that I belonged yet. Poetry is doing that right now. Poetry demands listening, stillness, intention. It forces you to slow down and ask, what am I actually saying? Not just, what are the words, but why do they matter? As an actor, that's invaluable. And so what excites me most about Poetry in Action is that it refuses to keep poetry locked on the page. It treats poetry like something living, physical, playful, accessible. It reminds young people, it reminds me, that poetry isn't about being clever. It's about being clear. It's about finding language for things that are hard to say in any other way. I'm going to get a lot of things wrong this year. I know there will be poems that I don't fully understand yet. Moments where I feel clumsy. Moments where I feel like a beginner again. But that's kind of the point. If I only chased work that confirmed what I already know how to do, I'd stop growing. And poetry refuses to let me do that. If poetry scares you too, whether as a performer, a student, a teacher, just a person, I'd love to know why. Drop it in the comments. What's your relationship with poetry like growing up? Was it freeing, confronting, intimidating? Or is there a poem that you know of, that you love, that you think I would also love? If you do, let me know about it. I'd love to check it out as I prepare to go on tour. This year, I'm choosing to walk toward things that make me a little uneasy. Poetry is one of them, and I am genuinely excited to see what it teaches me about language, about performance, and about myself. If you liked this video, give a like right back to it. Subscribe if you want to follow this journey, especially as the Poetry in Action tour gets underway. And be sure to come back next week as I'll be sharing with you a very practical, hands-on guide of how I'm preparing for the tour before rehearsals start very shortly. Other than that, be well, stay safe, don't die, and I'll see you next time.